So let me start out first with the, with the relationship timeline. I mean, you were already in public service when you bumped into FVR, right? I mean,
I was with the University of the Philippines as Dean of the College of Engineering.
right, right, and then
Actually, it was Del Lazaro who recruited me.
yeah, who pulled you out? But
Yeah,
this was
pulled me
already.
Yeah.
But was this already FBR or Cory time? Sir?
FBR.
Ah, FBR.
But I never met personally FBR before that.
Ah, none.
Yes.
None. Okay. So, Secretary Lazaro pulled you out of the academe, the nice, quiet life of the academe, and wanted you to take over
NAPOCOR as president at the time of the power crisis.
With all the headaches.
Yes.
I mean, what were, did you get any marching orders from Sec Lazaro or the president? I mean, what were you to do with NAPOCOR?
The situation was like this. When after Secretary Lazaro appointed me as president, I was abroad when the news came out that the president has accepted his recommendation. So my first meeting with the president was on a trip to Bataan, right? Wherein
NPP?
No, it was a trip to Bataan to visit. I think it was during the end of the Holy Week to celebrate Bataan Day.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So that's where I first met him. Okay, but never got to talk to him really directly. Okay, the first time that I was able to talk to him personally was on a plane flight to Baguio.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and wherein his word to me was, "Kaya ba natin?" Actually, he said it in Pangasinan.
Because you were province
because
mates.
we were province mates. So I just told him, "Yes, sir, we can do it." And that was it.
When was this? I mean, you got your appointment to
I learned about it
NAPOCOR.
first week of April while I was abroad. Then my appointment was effective May 1st of 1993.
First impressions of your kababayan. I mean that
leadership.
That first first kaya ba natin to?
I think leadership and develops immediately your self-confidence. Very brief question, very brief answer. No follow-ups. No whys, no hows, no what.
But aside from being province mates, Secretary, you two also share something very common. Both of you have the same academic training, no? Both of you are engineers. No?
Yes.
Is that engineer speak? I mean, brief, concise, and you understand.
More or less exact science.
Yes. So nagkaintindihan kayo immediately.
Intindihan kami. Yes.
Okay. But we were.
But in the first place, when he appointed me, he didn't know I am from Pangasinan. To be fair to him.
Later on na lang.
Yeah, later on na lang.
But he knew, of course, that you were
I came from UP.
Dean of the College of Engineering.
Yes.
Right. No option to decline,
It was a challenge.
Yeah,
because my expertise is in power systems engineering.
There you are.
So it was a challenge to apply my knowledge in solving a practical problem. And at the same time helping the nation, because at that time, because of the power crisis, there were a lot of lost opportunities for the country. So it's a make or break for me.
No. What was the jump like, sir? I mean, you were still in government service, but
I was still in government service. I still know the rules.
This was academe to operations.
Yes, sir. But the confidence that also helped. It also helped my confidence because I know a lot of people already in the utility industry. People from Meralco, people from NAPOCOR, who were my classmates at UP and graduate studies.
Okay.
And prior to that, I did consultancy work for NAPOCOR and Meralco. So knowing the people in there that are at the top of the organization
Yeah.
gave me that confidence to at least be able to help.
Yeah, no. So you already had the network.
Yeah, I have the network inside.
Coming into coming
Yes.
into the job.
Yeah,
But,
and I was also welcome. So
But Secretary, that was 10 to 14-hour brownouts you were having, right? I mean, tell me about. I mean, FVR solution was to seek emergency powers, right?
yes, he got it.
Yeah. So tell me about.
We
that.
used his emergency power to contract out a few power projects okay, that went online in '93. Okay, so the factors that helped us solve the problem was, in addition to his emergency power, that helped us put in place some 5-year contract of quick gestation power plants like power barges.
Yeah.
Okay. And at the same time, also be able to fast track some major transmission line projects.
Yeah,
Okay.
which were
Yeah.
already on the
Yeah.
pipeline at
that
that
was
time.
required to bring the power that will be generated by the power plant projects that was started under the Aquino administration. Right? So we finished those power projects on time. Okay. We took over and finished them. We put in the quick gestation period power plants.
Yes.
These are barges.
Oo.
We fast-tracked the transmission lines. Okay. And then we did a good repair and maintenance. We took all the time needed to do repair and maintenance of the existing power plants.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oo.
And of course, with some help from above, okay, we had good rain sometime in the second semester of that 1993 that enabled us to solve the problem in December 1993. Okay. But let me just tell you that our original timetable was actually summer of 1994.
94. Yeah.
And when I had a one-on-one meeting with the president,
Yes.
with me reporting on him on the status,
Yes.
he asked me when the crisis will be resolved. I told him summer of 1994. Then he kept silent. Then I asked him, "Is that good enough, sir?" And what he told me was that, sana kung pwede maaga.
Yeah.
So sabi ko, "Sir, kung December 93 pwede na." O sige. So we went back to the drawing board and everything and tried to put everything in place, rallied the NAPOCOR employees, especially the executive officers, to fast-track some of the maintenance activities so that we will meet the deadline in December 1993.
You had to crunch the operations, ano?
Such that
Fast.
if I review my collections of newspapers,
Yes, sir.
in June of 1993, we already made announcement that the power crisis will be resolved in December 1993.
By the end of when was that when you came to him and said June 94?
After a month, within May, I started May 1st. After a month, after
Okay.
being able to study,
your appointment.
after my appointment already, after studying everything already. Then Secretary Lazaro instructed me that the president wants to meet me to report what we have been doing to resolve the crisis. So that's how so it was a very short meeting.
Yeah.
But
Very engineer-like again.
very heavy on what he wants to things to
Crucial
how
yung-
things will happen.
Pero crucial yung
short lang.
momentary silence sa kanya.
Yeah.
And you immediately read it na parang kulang.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we were
Pagkasabi pa niya, baka pwede pa, parang request pa, baka pwede earlier.
But that's quite an achievement, Secretary. I mean, that was you were targeting a year from your appointment, and he was able to push you to crunch it to less than just 6 months.
Yes.
How crucial was that ano? How crucial was the legislation na nagawa niya, no? That he was
It
able,
helps.
di ba?
It helps in the sense that we're able to get
It gave you the ano, no?
yeah,
Di ba?
some capacity on over a short period of time, because we avoided bidding
Right,
and so on.
right. That cut through the ano, no?
Right. Yes.
The red tape, ano?
Right,
That allowed you.
But that's just one factor. The other major factor is really we're able to also maintain the power plants that are existing properly and in a way such that we were able to increase their availability. Okay, that together with this power plant set up under the Emergency Power Act and together with the power plants that was started by President Cory Aquino and the good rains in the second semester gave us that timetable to finish it by December 93.
Natapos ka agad, you know. Okay. What was it like? And so tell me what happened after that. So, 93 you were appointed, 94, but eventually you were asked to assume a higher post, right?
Yes. Well, in June of 94, okay, I guess we made a declaration of the permanent solution of the power crisis.
Right.
Because in summer of 94, okay, we were still projecting possible outages. Wherein the length of the outages is not yet acceptable to the public.
Yes.
But after that, okay, in June of 94, when we were able to commission also additional power plants.
Yeah.
And we made a declaration that the power crisis is over. Okay. In fact, in a Rotary meeting of the Manila Rotary in Manila Hotel, someone asked me what he will do with his emergency power diesel generators that he bought. I told him, you just throw it away. And it got the attention of Singapore. And it was in the paper of Singapore.
Or sell it off for second hand.
Yeah. And then
because but because you were able to actually not just cover for demand, no?
Yes.
Current demand, but
Also the increase.
There was a few years projection, ano?
Yes.
That you
That
had
we
the
have
capacity
to-
already,
yes,
ano?
yes.
That you were able to bring online at that time. No?
So when Del was convinced that the power crisis is over, he told the president that he's going to leave now. He has accomplished his mission.
Okay.
And so the president asked him for a list of possible successors.
Right.
So he put me in the list, and at some point in time, the president called me and just told me that, okay, you're here in the list. I don't have to go down the list. So I guess you deserve to succeed Secretary Lazaro. That's how it started.
And what better person, ano? Which better person?
In fact, I didn't say yes to him. I just told him, let me ask my wife first whether she will agree or not. I said, don't ask your wife anymore because she will disagree.
There's really no, there's really no option saying no to a president's wish.
It was a bigger challenge.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Bigger scope.
Right.
So, and of course, there was also a worthy successor for me in NAPOCOR. And of course, mission accomplished also in terms of resolving the power crisis.
So yun yung first targets ninyo ni
Del.
Lazaro, and then you as president of NAPOCOR solve those 8, 10, 12, 14-hour brownouts. How I don't remember how you brought it down to what,
well, slowly it was brought down 6, 4, 2,
right. So within 2 years, that one. Okay, so you eventually accepted the energy portfolio. I mean, tell me now, what was the FVR cabinet like? I mean, but you were, I suppose, able to work with in the cabinet already, before
Because
that.
that's the leadership style of President FVR.
Okay.
He lets you put your heads together. Okay.
Yes,
He said
tell
that,
me about
he
cabinet
said
life.
that, yeah, he said that, don't come to me if you are a cluster, don't come to me with several recommendations. You submit one recommendation wherein all of you agree to the recommendation. So you're forced to work with them and come up with a solution.
And it was supposed to be...
He's not the one to decide which of the solutions to take. The cabinet members should be the one. And those cluster meetings were very effective in resolving interdepartmental issues, especially issues between Department of Energy and Environment of Natural Resources in terms of environmental issues of energy.
Yes.
Between Department of Finance and DOE in terms of incentives that you're asking for.
Correct.
So those kind of conflict has to be resolved at the cluster level.
DTI for ease of business.
Yes, doing business easily.
So, diba, you cannot come to him with a problem.
With a problem.
Never.
And you don't write a memo to him, okay, behind the back of your fellow cabinet members.
Oh, how is that? What do you mean?
In other words, you don't write a recommendation to him without consulting the others. The other cabinet members, hindi pwedeng ikaw lang. And then sasabihin mo na mali yung ibang cabinet member, kaya ganitong position.
So
Ayaw niya yun.
So
Gusto niya, kausapin mo sila.
Got to sign off.
Pag-usapan niya yung kwan. And that's the kind of leadership that became effective in resolving issues.
I remember a few of your colleagues would say, and I wonder if you and a number of your fellow cluster cabinet members were sent to the same room.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Usually, when you go to the same room, it will be the executive secretary who will preside over the cluster.
Right.
And that's where you put your heads together to resolve conflicts between departments. And as much as possible, don't get out of the room until you resolve everything.
And that the aircon was turned off in the
I just had a few occasions for that. Maybe I have less conflicts with others.
Okay. So you were likable, easier to work with. But
the leadership style of the president really resolve a lot of issues.
And instead of debating it in the larger group, diba?
Not only debate it, sometimes if you allow them to debate, they debate it even in the public, which is bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, tell me about that. He didn't like that.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
And then what would he tell?
He usually wants you as a cabinet member to read the papers as well. He loves to read the papers early in the morning. As much as possible, if you have an issue, you already tell him the reasons why that is an issue and explain the reasons behind it. Then if there is a resolution of the issue, you already tell him what solutions you are taking as a cabinet member before the media gets to him and interview him.
But that was nearly every day.
Yes, that's every day. So every day, early in the morning, also you have to read papers.
Right. So you had to anticipate.
Yes.
So on your toes palagi kayo,
That's
sir?
correct, yeah.
Tell me how he expressed displeasure.
Displeasure. Hindi naman pala hindi naman ako napagalitan.
Okay. You're pretty lucky. So tama, there's a brotherhood of engineers.
Maybe I have less controversial issues.
Okay. Okay.
And I keep him posted of developments. Okay? There was a time when we had a major blackout moving into the election, the presidential election after his term.
Oh, 98, yeah.
So I took the initiative of reporting to him immediately what has happened and what are the solutions that we wanted to take. As much as possible, he wants to hear reports firsthand from the cabinet member, not from the papers, not from media, not from anybody else.
So when it does explode,
Yes.
alam na niya.
Alam na niya. Alam na niya ang isasagot niya.
Yeah. 24/7. No rest.
24/7, no rest.
You were all the way up to end of term.
Of the end of his term.
End of term. But among the other things also, I remember you were tasked, sir, was that di ba it was also during this time na pina-privatize na natin yung
Yes, we have
energy.
Well, when I was with the Department of Energy,
Right.
we have 2 other power projects.
Right. Yeah.
The one in San Roque Dam. The other one is the Sual coal-fired power plant.
Yes, Pangasinan.
So as secretary, my main job there was to coordinate the LGUs, the other departments, in seeing to it that the project will push through. So we have to deal a lot with the LGUs. And of course, we get some help from a lot of other people. It was not only by me. In addition to that, the other challenge for the Department of Energy then was we had also a draft law on the privatization.
Yeah, EPIRA?
EPIRA. I don't think we called it EPIRA
Not
at that
yet.
time, but it's the same thing.
Right.
And then we had the law on the oil deregulation.
Right, there you are.
Unfortunately, the first oil deregulation law was declared unconstitutional. At least 6 months before the term will end.
Yes.
So therefore, we have to rush
Right.
a second law.
Right.
And therefore, the law or the bill on the privatization was set aside.
Yun yung naging trade-off.
So we were not able to push that anymore. We prioritized the oil deregulation law, the second oil deregulation law, which addressed the unconstitutionality cited by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So we got that passed. The other major project that we had, which we were able to push, was the implementation of the Malampaya
There you are.
gas-to-power project.
Right.
In there, it took a lot of coordination among cabinet members. Department of Finance, Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Environment, the LGUs, and so on. So we were able to start that project.
Ano yung instructions dun sa oil deregulation in particular? And we were, if I remember, we were hobbled by the deficit.
Yes, of the oil price, OPSF,
the price stability. What was FVR's view?
Well, the direction, you remember that the direction of the Ramos administration was for deregulation,
right?
Free market.
Okay.
And oil was one of the industry.
Yeah.
He started regulating the telecoms, so the oil was also the other industry. And aside from the fact that it is driven by the direction of the administration, there was also already a need to resolve the deficit on the oil price stabilization fund. It was already in the order of billions of pesos. So the only way to do that was to really deregulate the industry.
The overall, the overall.
Yeah, it's both policy plus that.
Yes, was deregulation. Plus, also it was I mean, the era of subsidies
liberalization
was gone.
Was gone.
I mean, we were actually looking at being more global.
That's correct.
Being more competitive. And that couldn't happen under that kind of
under
setup.
that kind of setup. Yeah. And we're glad that after so many years, people were able already to accept the free market on the oil. And the government is benefiting. And just take a look at what subsidy has been saved, how much subsidy has been saved if we have not deregulated it.
And to a certain extent, consumers as well.
Yeah, they have already adjusted. Consumers are benefiting already, yeah.
From competitive
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
prices. Malampaya, that's really that was a breakthrough. We started exploring Malampaya when?
I think even before the time of President Cory Aquino.
Korea.
Discovery was done during President Cory Aquino's term.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But commercial declaration was done during the Ramos administration. But we have to provide a project
Yes.
to be able to utilize the production of Malampaya.
The natural
Okay, so
gas.
yeah, so private sector help in the sense that Meralco took half of the volume, while NAPOCOR took half of the volume. Anyway, at that time, the direction was already to privatize the generation sector.
Yes.
So, and there was already an executive order by then Cory Aquino about private sector participation in the power sector. So when Meralco agreed to underwrite half of the volume, then it gave us a better environment to implement the project. So we got it done. Okay.
And it, I think also, it broadened our energy.
It diversified our resources. It's a natural resource.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And it's indigenous,
It provided royalty to the government, although it is not without any conflict or issue with COA on the income tax and so on.
Yes, yes. But yeah, provided it's an indigenous source.
It's indigenous source.
But di ba I remember he also gave instructions on maybe finding the next, the next power source that, because while we were putting it online, I mean, I remember FVR saying na, di ba, when we put this resource online, we should already be looking for, it's next, it's the next generation of.
Yeah, we were supposed to by pushing that project, we're supposed to show to the world that and hope that investors will come, because we can support discoveries in the oil and gas. Okay. So we were expecting Shell to drill for more. In the area. But of course, it was already past our tour of duty. So we don't know anymore what happened after that. Okay. We have a master plan for what we call the ocean, solar, and wind.
Yes,
and I guess that was the next group of renewables that we were going to develop. But again, we left behind a master plan to do that and how to do it. At the same time, we also left a master plan on how to market nuclear power to the public. Okay, so those two plans were what we left with government, but we don't know what happened after that already.
So that was lacking. Yun yung what could have been done.
The follow-up on projects that left behind by administration was not there.
Continuity.
Yeah, because at that time there was the impact of the 1997 economic crisis, Asian crisis, was already being felt.
Yes.
In terms of excess capacity and therefore high power purchase agreement and so on. So everybody put their attention on the short-term problem of trying to resolve the high power rates, the take-or-pay provisions of the contract, even to the point of Congress investigating us on all these contracts and so on. Yeah, but I guess we were able to defend ourselves.
How did you manage that, sir? I actually have a question.
Well, we managed it. We told the public that at that point in time, when we made the supply-demand projection, we did not take into account the 1997 crisis because their plans were made in 92, 93, 94, 95.
Right.
So we told them that if any one of you forecasted the 1997 crisis, then you proclaim us guilty.
Yeah, we were actually on an upward on a trajectory.
Yeah, because had we known that the 1997 crisis will happen, our projection of the demand will be different.
That's right. So it just happened out of nowhere.
Hindsight is always 20/20. because at that point in time, my discussion with Del Lazaro when we solved the crisis, that we agreed that we should provide enough capacity beyond our term. Because 1 or 2 years after our term, if there will be another power crisis, we will still be blamed. That's the position of Secretary Lazaro, which we agreed with each other, and therefore we put in the necessary capacity that will last beyond the term of the president. Fortunately, when the 97 crisis happened, those projects were already under construction.
Yes, that's right.
So we are just hoping that there will be a quick recovery, but the quick recovery did not happen because you know what happened. There was a political crisis after the Ramos administration, and therefore...
Yeah, that's right. Sayang yung trade-off, you had to set aside yung power industry reform.
Yes, yeah.
What could have been done to...
I think it's almost the same.
I mean, you were looking, it came to a choice, you're telling me, between the regulating...
between all the regulation and that. At that point in time, 6 months into the term of the president, last 6 months of the term of the president, I don't think we can only do one law. And even the leaders of Senate and Congress told the president that we can only do one. We can no longer do the other one.
Plus, victim of circumstance,
Yes.
Natisod because
Kung
the
hindi
original
talaga
law
dineclare na constitutional yun, we would have passed our privatization.
A year earlier. Plus, also, I think the congressional schedule is different during a presidential, an election
going
year.
Going into election year na yun.
Right. They adjourn
actually, 3 months na lang yun. January, February, March na lang. After that, they adjourn during the Holy Week. Campaign period
and then
na yun.
Campaign period. Correct. So one had to go.
Yeah.
Sayang yung But tell me about the di ba sa inyo rin yung so it was also during this period yung build, operate.
Yeah, that's
transfer,
the BOT that we
diba?
used in contracting
that was a pioneer.
new power projects. That was pioneering.
Diba?
Yeah.
Tell me about it, sir.
It was passed after the Emergency Power Act was passed. BOT law was done to enable the government to save on capital expenditures for power plants because these are big ticket items, and let the private sector make the investment. And since it was pioneering, the private sector, naman ang private sector, you wanted guaranteed income, and the private sector involved there is the entire value chain.
Yes.
The investors, and then you have the lenders.
Correct.
The lenders want that the money that they loan to the investor can be paid.
It's covered, their exposure is
they are the party that is more interested in the take-or-pay provision rather than in the investor itself. That's the reason why we had those take or pay provisions, because it was pioneering. Nobody understands the risk, especially the political risk, because those are long-term contracts. 20 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
So divide that by 6, that's about 3 administrations. So since you don't know what will happen then. And there were some government guarantees for some of the projects,
Yes.
especially the initial ones. But during the latter part, we took already away. We were able to convince investors to come in under the BOT project without any more government guarantee.
But innovation actually was born out of necessity, ano? I
That's
mean,
correct.
initially it was triggered by the
Crisis.
the power crisis, but eventually we saw its application.
That's correct.
towards
Because
tell me.
government was able to divert most of its money to other, especially to social services.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the government also privatized some assets like PNOs, like Petron,
Yes.
although that was under the term of Secretary Lazaro, and the BCDA. So the Ramos administration was really raising cash for the government. Okay, and that is another way of looking at it. Instead of using cash, you let the private sector do it.
Become part of
and therefore the cash that was supposed to be used there can be used for other
purposes.
services.
Oo.
The same is true with the oil deregulation. That was also one of the justification or rationale. Okay? Instead of using it for subsidy, because more often than not, you subsidize the rich who own the cars and so on.
Yes.
You can give it to social services.
Right. Now, because BOT, it became
BOO, and there were another,
rehabilitate,
build,
own,
operate, and own.
diba?
Yeah. We had, at the end of the day, we already had the BOO. At that time, nobody wants the BO. It was all BOT.
Yes.
Build, operate, and transfer.
Oh.
Then, during the latter part, when the investors were more confident on the scheme, then some agreed to the build, operate, and own. You just sign a contract with government. Then after that period, then you look for your other contracts.
Right. Pero naging ano rin yun di ba? I remember it also became a highlight of one of those road shows or several of the road shows of the Philippines, di ba? When you present it to
Yes,
investors
at that time,
overseas.
for especially for the new
Tell me about
projects,
that.
especially for the San Roque project and the gas project, the Malampaya gas to power project.
Yes.
We made roadshow on those 2 major projects.
We're using using BOT and
BOT scheme.
the
Yes.
BOT scheme.
Okay.
And the international community jumped on it, no?
Yes. There was also the other major projects that was finished under the Ramos administration was the 600 megawatt geothermal project in Leyte,
Oh, okay.
which involved an interconnection between Luzon and Visayas through an HVDC. Okay, that was the development of that was started under the Cory administration, even way back Marcos, but it was implemented during
Fully completed.
FVR's time, fully completed. Although the implementer of that was PNOC EDC.
Yes.
It was not NAPOCOR.
Oh,
Okay, NAPOCOR was just the buyer of the power.
of the power. Yeah, but still part of your
But still part of
energy
the energy sector because
energy.
PNOC was still under the Department of Energy.
department. Yes.
So there were that project together with San Roque were projects that had been envisioned long time ago already. And the Ramos administration was able to implement those 2 projects under its term.
And then yung interconnection, Leyte,
Yes.
Palimpinang.
It's in Tungonan.
Togonan.
Yeah.
Yes, Leyte. Southern Leyte. Oo. Yun. Yun bang, just looking on hindsight, Secretary, did all of this already, by your own estimates, nakaplano na ba kay FVR lahat yun noon? Kahit uh, from the start. I mean, did he say, I wanted to deregulate this, I wanted to deregulate that? I mean, you know, let's get
I
government
think so.
out of...
It's a
Was there a
it's a
vision?
policy. Yeah, that's the vision of the government then.
Okay.
Okay, that's part of the plan of the government.
Mm-hmm.
It started with telecoms, and so liberalization was actually a major policy of the Ramos administration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all of these things came under this liberalization,
Mm-hmm.
and then involving the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Those were major policies of the government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
That was supported by the economic team of the Ramos administration.
And then working closely
And then
with,
we were the implementers because we were the part of the infrastructure group. Department of Transportation, Telecom, Public Works and Highways, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why MWSS concession was also privatized.
Yes,
So
yes.
those are part of the bigger scheme of the liberalization policy.
Yun yung overall,
overall,
liberalize. Get government
Yeah,
out of the,
That's
out
correct.
of, out of the monopolies, out of
Yes.
the, yeah.
Well, it's a major policy of the Ramos administration that we were able to implement.
Mm-hmm. And to a very large extent, Secretary, it was very successful, right?
Yes, very successful, and it's benefiting the country
To this
in terms
day,
of removal of subsidies,
and restrictions on
on investments and
yes,
so on.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, yung could we have done better in broadening the power mix? I mean, you were talking earlier about looking at the second generation of energy.
Well, at that time
resources.
we believed that we left behind a good power mix. Okay, there were only after the coal projects that started under the Korea administration was finished. We have only 2 coal projects after that, the one in Masinloc and the one in Sual. But then we had the hydro of San Roque. We have Kaseknan. And then we have the natural gas. And then we have the geothermal. So at that point in time, the mix was good when we left. Right. And then with the master plan for OSW and the communication plan for the nuclear, we were hoping that if this were pushed forward, then you would have renewables. But I don't know about nuclear. But in our 30-year plan, we said that we might need the nuclear by 2025. Okay. The last 30-year energy plan that we left behind. Okay. But of course, we have this Renewable Energy Act now that addresses the ocean, solar, and wind. So although that was not a product of the plan that we left behind, at least the next administration saw the virtue of promoting the other sources of technology, RE technology.
Walang the search for new oil.
At that time when we left, oil prices were low. So the activities in the exploration was very low. Okay. It was not high enough to
so there was
encourage,
no interest to
do exploration.
Despite having El Nido?
El Nido, mga ganyan. There was no exploration during our time.
None.
None.
But what about looking for another Malampaya? Because
well, we were hoping that Shell would do it once we signed we were able to implement the Malampaya gas to power project.
Yes. But
I don't know.
Things intervene along the way.
That's correct.
Yeah. Was there worry about continuity? I mean, I guess you guys were hoping that all these programs, all these reforms would be continued, or having
by the next administration. For the oil deregulation law, I personally know Philip Medalla, who took over as
Yes,
NEDA,
yes.
and I told him what is his view on the liberalization of the oil industry. I told him that you will be the one who will be implementing this fully. Are you gonna support it, or are you gonna succumb to the public clamor to regulate it again? And he said, no, we will continue the liberalization and the deregulation. So far, despite all the lobbying for return to regulation,
Yes,
no,
yes,
the Estrada administration kept their words on the liberalization
Yeah.
of the
So that
oil industry. Yeah,
so that was your particular
yeah.
your particular
yeah,
concern.
so-
Okay.
Because during the time when we were doing it, Philip Medalla was for liberalization. He was an active member of the FEF. So, at
So it
least,
wasn't too much of
yeah, at least they did not succumb to
yeah.
public pressure on
Yeah.
regulating it.
Some
Especially when it was implemented, prices started to rise.
yeah. Well, that was the initial.
It's
But
good.
eventually it leveled off. I
Yeah.
mean, it really followed.
I'm glad they
Market,
they stick to it.
Okay, Joseph Estrada and all, diba? You were okay with at least one, your specific concern it being pushed through, A number of your cabinet classmates actually said 6 years was too short for the man.
For a good man like FVR, is too short.
Or 6 years is too long. But yeah, I mean, tell me your reaction to that, statement from a number of your,
Well, there are maybe because there were projects that were sidelined. Okay. So if you were a cabinet member and you had a vision of that project being continued, then definitely you would have liked that the term would have been longer to enable you to implement it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, especially in the energy sector, all projects are long gestation.
Right.
Okay, it takes you 5 years. Okay. So it's really hard to find a break when you want to leave. I think at the end of the day, anytime you leave, there will always be a project that will be unfinished.
Nasayang.
Yeah.
Sayang. But in your case,
It was
that would have been the power industry.
Yes, it would have finished. Malampaya was finished under the Arroyo administration. The San Roque Dam was inaugurated under the Estrada administration, together with the Sual Power Plant and Masinloc. So everything was continued, and they even refiled the privatization of NAPOCOR. So for me, as far as the energy sector is concerned, okay, the projects that were left behind were continued.
So happy ka
And at the end of the day, they also found a solution to the impact of the of the Asian crisis of '97 on the power rates.
Right, right. Eventually.
Okay? Although it was not the ideal solution, at least they did not cancel the BOT contracts and so on. They respected it. They they found a solution around it. Okay. So it was also good, even if we have been investigated and questioning all the contracts. But of course, there are other projects that we would have loved to implement ourselves also, if the term would have been longer than 6 years. But,
Where were you on that move to, alala mo ba yun, yung People's Initiative?
what I remember is just, I think, the rally.
Yeah.
We were flying in from Europe. For
Yes,
that rally.
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
you were with that. Then I think there was
Mrs. Aquino
Yeah,
made a
was the one talking.
definitive statement on that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
In FVR, from where you, from where you sat, did FVR actually
push it personally. No,
push it, or did he consider, giving it a go? I mean, that the Pirma, the People's Initiative.
I didn't see any, personal hand of the president on those. Okay, maybe the best that he could have done was probably consent, and then maybe tell the people who initiated it that if it gets approved, then I'm willing to serve. But I don't know any. I'm not privy to the start of the that initiative. But personally, for me, it was too late an initiative.
Oh, no.
Because it was already nearing elections, so
Yes.
everybody was already saying that there's a personal motive already.
Oh, tainted na because of
Tainted
its
na.
proximity to the elections. And eventually, he made a decision,
Nung ni-respect na rin niya. Nung nagsalita si Cory saka si
Pati ba si Cardinal?
Cardinal. Silang dalawa pa
Dalawa,
no?
His two sponsors, patrons.
He should respect the two.
The other thing, sir, was nasan ka nung nagkaroon siya nung surgery niya?
Yung surgery. I think I was at work. We were called to a cabinet meeting presided by Ruben Torres.
Yeah, the executive
So as
secretary.
I think it's part of the Constitution, Philippine law, that when the president is incapacitated, the cabinet has to meet and decide what to do. So there was that meeting. So we were aware of the condition of the president then.
Was there any worry about for his life, for his safety at that time?
No, I don't
Not
think so
really,
because
no.
it was medical. Hindi naman siya. We believe that it was not a medical solution that is pioneering. No? And then he's strong, physically strong.
Yeah,
So I think
and he pulled through.
he pulled through. Yeah.
Doon sa sir? So, nag-end of term, hindi ka you were not asked to stay along to the next administration. Hindi na, nag-co-terminus ka na.
Co-terminus na ako. Maraming mga tao outside na gusto mo ma-extend and so on. Hindi na rin ako
What did you do after? Took
took a break for 1 year because
You
that's
slept for 1 year?
No, I went back to teaching as a lecturer.
Oh.
First of all, I retired from government after the term. Official retirement from my services from UP, NAPOCOR, and the Department of
DOE.
Energy.
Okay.
Then went back as a lecturer to while away the 1 year prescription period before you can work again.
Ganun ba yun?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then after that, I joined the FINMA group. I rejoined them because I was a consultant of that group before I joined the government. I joined FVR. So I rejoined them and was part of the group that managed their cement industry. And when they sold the cement in 2002, they sold completely.
Yeah.
Then I managed their energy
They're into power
business.
now, where we met each other recently.
Yeah.
Ang gusto kong malaman is you still drop by, you still have meetings, interactions with FBR.
Under the RPDEB.
Okay.
Yeah. There are
Trustee ka ba,
meetings.
or-
Yeah, I'm not trustee.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are those meetings like, sir?
It's fun.
Not
really very very
What are
serious.
your exchanges like with FBR? I mean, you see how these guys are bungling around? Ganun ba?
Sometimes there's political talk,
Oo,
yeah,
oo.
comments and so on and so forth.
Any, any reminiscence
I
from
listen.
the...
If there sometimes we talk about what's happening in the. If I interact with him, it's usually what is happening in the energy industry.
Because you're very much into it
Yeah,
still,
especially so if from time to time this issue of take or pay and so on, it took time to die down.
Yes, yes, yes.
They always go back.
Yeah.
If there's a problem in the power, they always go back to the term of FVR, that those, I don't know how they term it with that contract. What is the term that they use? Yeah, the IPPs. Yeah.
The IPPs. Oh, so to this
day, we all the way we supported the president, okay, explaining to the public these issues of the IPPA contract.
To this day, Secretary, FVR remains a resource to you, kung ganun.
Yes.
The insight is still there?
I think it's still there.
Oo. Matalas pa rin.
Matalas pa rin. He's still aware because he still read papers. From time to time, if he sees an article on energy, he still does the marginal notes, then send copies to me, even if I'm already with FINMA. And once I joined him at the Buao Forum, although during golf time, I stay in the hotel or attend the conference.
Yep. Just maybe two last things, sirs. What would you remember of FVR most? That's one. And number two, what to you is FVR's greatest legacy?
I think FVR's leadership is one thing that inspired me when I was with him. Okay, the fact that he doesn't bypass you. Okay, specific cases. He doesn't bypass his secretary when it comes to appointing people in your department, in your attached agencies, and so on. He always calls you to a meeting, yung Wednesday meeting nila, with all the others. And then he discusses his preferences, because usually you have to recommend 5 to select 1 or 2, and then he discusses his preferences. All right. Unlike, my experience, the things that you observe from other administrations, that, the secretary doesn't know that one is already being appointed as undersecretary.
Ando na pala.
And so on, nandoon na pala, magre-report na lang, dala-dala na lang yung appointment. But to him, hindi niya, so that's a good, maybe it's his training in the military, hierarchy, follow the hierarchy order. The other one is that he is very conscientious, diligent. He reads, he learns, and he trusts, among others, his cabinet. Okay. Malaking bagay yun yung you're being trusted. Yun lang sinabi kong first encounter namin na kaya ba natin ito. Sabi ko lang, yes sir. Wala na. Ibig sabihin, hindi na siya nagtanong kung anong gagawin mo. Ganito ba? Baka mamaya, mali yan. Wala na.
But it helped very much, sir, no?
For you to deliver.
And that you knew that he had your back.
And tapos, ang experience ko sa kanya, if you remember, si Mang Lapus, Senator Mang Lapus, he was president, president of PNOC, chairman. Mayroon silang project na. Minsan, nagsusumbong yan. Sinasabi ko, you're right behind the back.
Okay.
Pagka may nagsumbong, whether it is a congressman or a senator or anybody. Pero so far naman, experience ko lang naman nagsusumbong sa kanya are senators, congressmen. Within my group, si Senator Mang. Tinatawag ka niya. Pinapakita niya sa'yo. Hindi yung gagawin din niya, nasasagot siya na hindi mo rin alam. Sabi niya, sagutin mo ito.
It was a very open.
Oh, so open siya.
Open.
And then yung sabi niya, sige kayo, mag-usap kayo dyan. Yung cluster meetings. I-resolve din niyo yung iyong problema. And so, and then I learned a lot from him in terms of his character or values of work.
There you are. What was he like as a public? What was he like? I mean, how did his brand of public servant impress on you?
Sincere. He's sincere of his objectives to serve the people. And that rubs on the person that he deals with. Sincere. Wala siyang ulterior motive other than to serve.
And the entire cabinet.
Yeah, respects him.
Yeah, a lot of you guys actually are saying that nakakahiyang hindi mag-perform.
Yeah, that's correct. Kasi the mere fact that he trusts you, he respects you, kaya nakakahiyang hindi ka mag-perform eh. Hindi ka naman minomonitor eh. He expects you to have your own initiative to do things. Like yung sinasabi kong answering newspapers, mga issues raised, dapat kusa mo nang gawin yan. And he set the example. So, kaya sabi ko, there are a lot of overtures to join government in any function. Sabi ko, I think I'll only serve one master this time. It's only FVR. Maganda na yung naging master ko. It's a good record already, serving one good person who is a good leader. Maganda yung leadership style niya. The mere fact na he's respected globally, diba? Invited to speak, and so on.
To this day. To this day.
And then the other was that because of the gap in age, fatherly rin siya. Minsan ang matagal kong kasama siya is when we traveled by land together from Lingayen. Kasi ginabi na hindi na pwedeng helicopter eh. We traveled by land together from Lingayen to the house what's that house? Near Malacanang, yung dating nirerentahan.
Arlegui.
Arlegui. So we had some conversations, personal, not related to work, mga ganon. So, yun pinaka-close na nakausap ko siya. Not related to work.
Fatherly rin?
Fatherly, yeah. It's very fatherly.
Thank you very much, sir.